Derek Sheridan from Rustbelt Basketball Coaches Network and Basketball Nexus website. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for a really unique honor. It's not something that happens to many coaches, and Coach Kachmarik from St. Francis de Sales High School in Toledo, who is competing in arguably one of the top 5 toughest high school basketball conferences in the nation, has been recognized by his peers here in the great state of Ohio, and he is going to coach the North team for our North-South All-Star team. So in the state of Ohio, that is our most publicized and premier All-Star game. The North-South game is the cream of the crop. That's where our best players migrate to, and you have to be selected, and there is a stringent selection process to name who's going to coach those teams. So it is a very unique honor that, again, doesn't happen to many coaches. So we wanted to make sure that Coach Kachmairk got this information out, and people primarily in Northwest Ohio know what kind of honor this is, and that we are so lucky to have a District 7 coach run the helm for the North team All-Star game. So, Coach, congratulations.
And I appreciate it. It's truly an honor, and I'm excited to represent not only Northwest Ohio, but the District 7 Coaches Association. You know, they've been, it's a District 7 Coaches Association is a very tight-knit group, and, it'll be an honor to represent the district, and I'm looking forward to it. I know it's April, and it seems like a long time away, but probably be here before we know it.
That's exactly right. It'll be here before you know it. So, Coach, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the North-South game, talk to us a little bit about the great season you had last year, and then that just surreal postseason run the Knights made.
Yeah, last year we got off to a really good start. We had really, really good seniors, led by Jamison Heck, who was our point guard and was a point guard for 4 years here. As you know, his grandpa, Mike Heck, was my high school basketball coach at Rossford, and his father, Kevin, was a college basketball coach with many different stops: Eastern Michigan, Kent State, Rutgers, Buffalo. So he was a coach on the court, and he made us really, really good. And he was our floor general. And then Raheem Brown, who was the backcourt mate with him, was another senior who was a very good scorer for us, athletic, great defender. And then we just really had Logan Horton, who was a senior, who's now at Defiance College playing, was a big man inside, who was coming off an injury midway through the season, broke his foot in AAU in the spring and had a couple surgeries, but he really became a defensive force with us. And then his brother, Alan, who's a junior, will be a senior for us this year, is a very skilled inside post. And, the team kind of came together. Our freshman last year, Chris Polanitz, who's back for his sophomore year, did a very good job of, especially in the postseason, of picking up some scoring. And, the team just kind of gelled. And I know you talked about us playing in a tough league in the CHSL, and that league totally prepared us for the postseason. That league is tough from top to bottom, and every game is a grind. And, it really prepared us for what big games, like you have in a postseason. It prepared us for that. But there was other seniors, Michael Yates, who came off the bench most of the season and then came in a starting role in that postseason, just kind of provided us defense and a spark. He's actually playing at Terra State Community College. So he, it is, the seniors were great leaders, and young guys really were skilled and helped us, and it really came together as a team. And, we're fortunate to make the run and get all the way to the Final Four. We did run into a juggernaut in Westerville North, who was the state champions, who was a very good team, well coached, but athletic, quick, fast. They were a fun team. So if you're going to go down, you want to go down against the best, and that's what we did. But no, it's great. Like I said, Michael Yates is playing at Terra State, and Logan is moved on to Defiance, and Jamison Heck is playing at the Citadel, which this past weekend in exhibition game, he had 8 points at 2 threes and got fouled, made a couple free throws, and he's loving it down there. So we got three guys from that team that moved on to the college level.
But I didn't realize Jameson was at the Citadel. That's going to be a good fit for him. He's a very disciplined young man from a disciplined household.
Yeah, absolutely, and he loves it.
Good.
It's a military school. There's not a military commitment at the end, it's military school, so he's learning to be a soldier a little bit. And which, if you knew anything about Jameson, he was at the Y at 4:30 every morning and had his ritual that he did. So when Ed Conroy, the head coach of the Citadel, called to offer him, I said, "Well, you're getting a little soldier," and he loves them, and I wouldn't expect anything more from Jameson than what the coaches' feedback is that I'm getting back from him.
Good. It's a great honor for Jameson and well deserved. He was just such a highly effective point guard for you for 4 years. I think he knew your system just as well as you do.
Exactly.
I'm here to ask a favor of you. And trust me, I'm not the world's best at asking favors from other people. But if you like the materials we submit online, if you could smash that like button, leave us a comment, subscribe, and share our materials, that exponentially helps us grow our Basketball Nexus platform. Thank you so much. Well, Coach, talk to us a little bit about what you're going to be doing, what your responsibilities will be for the North team, and how the team selection transpires and things like that. So the people on the outside who don't know, you can talk to them about what a big responsibility this is for representing the North half of the state of Ohio.
Yeah, the districts will vote what players are in. The coaches will vote on what players will be the members of the North team. And then once that weekend gets close, we will get together and get some practices in and really try to put the team together to try to get a victory. But the big thing is one of my players when I was at Cardinal Stritch, Austin Adams, got to play in the North-South game, which was a great honor going down and watching him play. And, it's just the whole tradition of it, the tradition of Ohio and it kind of being it is the last game, high school game that, most of these kids will play. So it's very competitive, but it's something that they remember, their whole life. And you want to make it a great experience, but you want to be competitive and those guys want to win. So you put it all together and try to mesh them in a couple of days when they get to know each other. And, but all those kids are talented and you got to let their talents go. And we look to have, a great team, but also have some fun while doing it.
So is this an ordeal where you will have the kids for 3 days, 2 nights?
Yes. So it'll be like 3 days, 2 nights. We'll get a couple practices in there. They do some team bonding stuff and have some fun with the other team as well. So it's something that I'm looking forward to. And plus it allows you to meet all the different kids and hear their stories. And, most of them are going to be going on to play at the next level. So that's fun to let them share their stories and hear what they got going on. And, it's just it's really just a great accomplishment for those kids to play in this game. And, there's been a lot of great ones that have played in it over the years throughout the state of Ohio. So, when your name's on that list, it's a heck of an accomplishment.
Indeed. It is a great all-star game. It's a great environment. The OHSBCA, the Ohio High School Basketball Coaches Association, does it the right way. You're going to have a great time with this. And as you said, it'll be something that you will take with you for the rest of your life. Again, it's not an honor very many people get. It's just one of those things that is, if you're so lucky to get it, it's a huge ordeal because you're in such a small number of people who have received this honor.
Yeah, and it's a true blessing that I'm getting to do this, and trust me, I'm going to cherish it. But also remember all the coaches, past and present, that have been part of Northwest Ohio. If it wasn't for Coach Heck and Coach Stalma at Rossford, that kind of were the ones that kind of guided me to get into coaching, and so. I'll think about them when this game's taking place and when the weekend's taking place because, it's all the former coaches and coaches coming up, it gives them something to shoot for and try to get this honor. And it's, I'm very humbled by it.
Before we cut you loose, Coach, let the people know about this background you've had, your journey into becoming a high-level high school coach, because you have a journey into coaching that is extremely rare.
Yeah, when I was at college at Bowling Green, got to become really good friends with Jay Larinaga. And so I started helping Coach Larinaga and the staff at Bowling Green when I was a student at Bowling Green. And at that time on that staff, Steve Murfeld was an assistant who went on to be a head coach at Hampton and Evansville, and he's still coaching today out at Creighton. And then Stan Heath was an assistant who, Len left there and went to Michigan State, and then has been a head coach for many years at many different places. Now the head coach at Eastern Michigan. Keith Knopfs, who was a very good high school coach, especially down in Van Wert, was an assistant coach. So those guys kind of gave me their start and took me under their wing. And, I used to go with Coach Heath on recruiting trips. He would drive there. We'd watch a player, and then he'd give me the keys and say, "You're driving home." So he could kick back and get a little sleep on the way back. And then from there, I was fortunate enough to be hired by Jim O'Brien, who was the new head coach at Ohio State. Was at Ohio State for 3 years, was part of the 1999 team who went to the Final Four with Scooney Penn and Michael Redd. So was part of a NCAA Final Four in year 2 of my college coaching career. So, I thought that was going to happen every year, but that didn't. And then from there, I went to William & Mary for 3 years. Rick Boyages, who was the associate head coach at Ohio State, got the William & Mary job. I went with him. I was at William & Mary for 3 years. Then I was at Coastal Carolina for 6 years. I actually was underneath 3 different coaches at Coastal Carolina. I was hired in by Pete Strickland, who was a former assistant coach at Dayton, played at DeMatha. So he very good point guard at Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh. Then Buzz Peterson became the head coach, and I was the associate head coach for Buzz Peterson. And then Buzz took a job at that time with the Bobcats, which are now the Hornets. And it came down to Cliff Ellis and I for the head coaching job. And Cliff Ellis had won some ACC tournaments or championships and done many good things at Auburn and at Clemson. So I knew I probably wasn't getting it, but I was fortunate enough. Cliff hired me, so I got to work 2 years with Cliff Ellis, who's one of top 10 of most winningest coaches in college basketball history. And that was, to be honest, it was better for me because I learned a lot. I mean, Cliff was a very, very knowledgeable coach, and I learned a ton from him. Then Buzz decided to get back into college, so I went with him to Appalachian State. We had a really good year. And next thing you know, the phone was ringing, and we went to UNC Wilmington. And I was with Buzz for 3 years at UNC Wilmington. My kids started getting a little bit older. The recruiting thing was, a little strenuous, and I thought it was time. There was a lot of coaches, especially in the college level, that missed their whole kids' upbringing. You just get so wrapped up into that job, and I didn't want to do that. My wife, Corey, is from Toledo, went to Toledo Central Catholic. My father-in-law, Mike, was a very good player at Central Catholic and in the Hall of Fame, and then played basketball at the University of Toledo. So I was married into a good basketball family, but we came back to Northwest Ohio. I did not think I was going to coach high school basketball, to be honest. I was doing a lot of different things at that time. Rick Boyages was then the associate commissioner of the Big Ten. So I was doing some things with the Big Ten, and I was observing Big Ten officials for the Big Ten. And then Dave Boyce asked me to work out some of the Perrysburg kids when I came back. So I was working them out. Next thing you know, he asked me if I would help. So I volunteered for a year and worked with him for a year. And then Cardinal Stritch called and offered me the job, and was fortunate enough to coach some really good players at Cardinal Stritch. And we made our run to the Final Four in 2019. And then a few years later, St. Francis called. So I was at Cardinal Stritch for 7 years, and now I'm heading into year 5 here at St. Francis. But like I said, a lot of this and the journey, I've been fortunate enough to coach a lot of good players. And here in Northwest Ohio, I feel like I've coached some very good ones. Joey Hollifield was a very good player for us at Cardinal Stritch. He's playing professionally in Finland. Just texted me the other day. He's had 2 professional games. One, he scored 30 points, and the next one, he scored 29. So his pro career is going the way he wants it to. The more you do that, the better your teams become, the more money you make. So he's doing a great job with that. So it's fun. It's been great. I really like coaching at the high school level. I love taking my experiences that I have at college and trying to help some of these kids reach their goals of getting there. It's not so much the wins and losses for me or for Cardinal Stritch or St. Francis. It's more trying to help these kids get to that next level and teaching them what it takes to get to that level. And, when you got good enough players, the wins are going to come, and then you can do that. But for me, it's seeing these guys move on. Austin Adams, who was a great player. I only got to coach him 1 year in my first year at Cardinal Stritch. We ended up going to regionals that year. Austin went on to Tiffin University and was 1,000-point, 1,000-rebound, already in Tiffin's Hall of Fame. It's been a real fun seeing these kids. The scary thing now is some of them are married and having kids already, but it seems like that shouldn't be happening. I don't feel that old, but I guess I am getting there. But the journey's been great. The game of basketball has taken me around the world. I met a ton of different people, and I cherish everything. Not too many coaches can say they've coached in NCAA Final Four and a couple of high school Final Fours. So but tip your cap, because again, it comes down to the players. If Michael Redd and Scooney Penn and Ken Johnson, Jason Singleton weren't part of Ohio State, then we probably went to the Final Four there. And Joey Hollifield, Jordan Burton, Little Anderson, those guys kind of led us at Stritch. And then last year, our team, like I said, you had Jimmy and Raheem and Michael and Trayshawn and Chris and Alan and Logan, so those guys really, it's all about the kids and their efforts and how hard they want to play to get you to that pinnacle.
Well said. Tell us about how it was like to be at Coastal Carolina when Dustin Johnson was there.
It's kind of funny because if you know my background, I was a high school golfer, and I'm a big golfer. So I got to know Dustin very well. And his brother Justin was actually a basketball player and was at a prep school down in North Carolina, and we recruited him a little bit. He ended up going to Charleston Southern, who was in our league, who's now Dustin's caddy, and has been for a while. But Dustin was as athletic as they come. And we used to, at Coastal, have this Midnight Madness. Back then, Midnight Madness was a big thing in college. Well, Dustin would get in a dunk contest, and he could do about anything you wanted. He could windmill, he could go between his legs, and he would get right in the dunk contest with our basketball players. And it looked like he should have been on the court playing. But as much as he could dunk, he could hit a golf ball. And matter of fact, one time I was up here recruiting, and Coastal happened to be playing over at Inverness in Toledo, University of Toledo's golf tournament that they had. And I came and rode around in a cart with the head coach and kind of acted like the assistant golf coach for a couple of days. And Dustin won the whole thing individually. And only thing I could tell him back then, that was before Inverness made the changes. It got real long. I said, Dustin, you're not going to need your driver here. And he basically I think he had probably a 4-wood or a 5-wood is all he used to tee off. And I don't know what his 2-day total was, but I know he was under par and he kind of blew away the field. And Coastal had some other really good players. But he was something special, and got to play a lot of golf with him when we were down there. Matter of fact, the irons that I have are a set of his irons, because it's kind of funny when you start thinking about recruiting these days. Well, when he was done and getting ready to turn pro, every golf club manufacturer was sending him clubs because they wanted to try to sign him, whether it was Ping or, TaylorMade, all that. So I have a nice pair of Ping irons that actually were part of the free ones that Dustin, he just said, I'm getting all these. Why don't you go? So I took a set, Buzz took a set. We were all taking sets of clubs because he had so many of them.
Tell us about your thoughts on the current state of college basketball.
It's a lot different, right, than when I first started. I talk to our players about this all the time. I said, when I first started recruiting, there wasn't even, cell phones were just coming in, right? Like, you weren't text messaging, all that type of stuff. By the end, yes, then text messages started to come in, and you could text guys, but you only had so many phone calls you could make, and you had to document everything, and it was so different. And now, with NIL money, the transfer portal, back then you transferred, you had to sit out a year. You tried to get mid-year guys to transfer, so then when they sat out, they were eligible the second half of the next year. And it was different. And now with the portal and getting immediate eligibility and NIL, it's a whole different, monster. I have many friends still in the business. I was talking to one that was talking about their whole team. No one lives on campus. right? They take their NIL money, they go, they're in apartments. So basically, and most of their classes are online. So they're not even on campus. So basically, they're driving to practice, you know, do the 2 hours of practice and go home. It's like it's a job, because they're doing their classes online. So like it's a little different than when I was there, and your basketball team, the football team, volleyball, they're all in the cafeteria. People know each other, and now it's totally different. So it's a job, and it's always been a job. Like I always tell our players and used to tell the families when we were recruiting, like, we're going to own your son. Like, you know what I mean? Like from when he wakes up to when he goes to bed, it's going to be mapped out for him. Well, that's kind of what it is now, but now they're getting paid for it. And, like it can be challenging because if one kid's getting a little bit more money than the other one, and one that's got lower money produces more, someone's going to be in the office not happy. Right. So there's a lot more to it. The agents for the NIL and all that. And it's becoming pretty hectic. And now with them, starting to grant these guys who have played some professionally, in the G League and being able to come back. If that opens up, it's just going to get harder and harder. I hate to say it for high school kids, to get to the highest level of Division I, which Division II, Division III, NAIA should get better. But then their kids, if they are good enough, they're not going to be there very long because they'll get recruited. So instead of watching high school films or trying to talk to your high school coaches at all your AAU as much as you do, you're really trying to watch other colleges and see what kids are good enough. If it's a low major team or mid major and their leading score is pretty good, the high majors are going to see that. And then that's the recruiting that's taking place. So it's a lot different than when I was in town, when I was doing it for many years of driving up and down roads. And when I was at Coastal Carolina, we would, you know, practice in the morning. I get in a car, I'd drive to DC, which was, about 7 hours away, watch a high school game, get in a car, drive back home so I could be at practice the next morning. Like those days, it's not like that as much anymore because the internet has every game you possibly want to see. And the high school kids that are getting recruited, they know, but you're not just going to go to a random game to see if there's some talent there. And it's just different. It's a lot different. But kids got to keep working on it. You got to work on your goal, and then you got to try to get yourself out there and let your films be seen and all that. But it's getting tougher, and the college landscape is different, and it's changing. Daily, weekly, monthly, it all changes. The NCAA did get turned down. There was a thought that everybody's going to get 5 years. And I don't think that's going away. I think it's not happening this year, but I think that's coming. And if everybody can play 5 years, then, you know, coaches are going to want more 22, 23-year-olds on their roster than they do 18-year-olds. So it's going to be another difficult thing going forward. But, it's still fun. I still love the college game. It's one of my favorite to watch. But it most definitely is different because if you watch a game now, every commentator talks about the kid, and then instead of you know they always announce where he was. You can even hear that in football games, right? Like, oh, that's a catch by so and so. Last year he was from Arizona State, or transfer from this, transfer from that. So it's just different because you in the past didn't do that, right? You brought in freshmen, you developed them. If you thought they needed a year, you redshirted them, and you really try to work them. And those days are over. The redshirt start is not really happening. That's why I think they're really looking at giving a kid 5 years, because if he does need time, then it will give him that extra year without the school redshirting him and leave opportunities for him to transfer and have an opportunity to play 4 years if his first year was that he was just sitting on a bench and not getting any PT. So it's different. The landscape's different. Some people like it, some people don't like it. You're just going to have to adjust. It's not changing. So I think that's where the state of basketball is. Um, it's kind of something that we talk about here when you look at the United States, when you look at Europe, right? That's the other thing. We don't really factor in these European players come over here and now they're getting recruited. And that has changed because the young kids in Europe, the 17, 18, 16-year olds, they were always tied into a club and they had them under some money of like, they would give them 10,000, 15,000 a year. Well, then the NCAA couldn't touch them because they were looked at as pros. Well, now with NIL, that money is not high enough. So they look like, they're looked at now as recruitable athletes. So now you're going to have more of these foreign, semi-pro kids coming over here now because that door has opened. And I know for a fact that there's a lot of college coaches, I know a few, who just spent time a couple of weeks ago in Europe because when those leagues play, they play on a Saturday and it's like all day long, and then they play on Sunday and it's all day long, and it's all those kids in that age playing in those pros. Well, guess what? That's where the college coaches are sitting there, and they can watch them all for 2 days, come back here and start recruiting. And and those guys, you can hit their agents and that type of stuff, and there's a lot more NIL money than the $10,000 or $15,000 they're getting to play that pro over there in Europe. So I think you're going to see a lot more foreign players in the scene now that has opened. So again, it's just getting tougher and tougher for your normal high school kid and recruiting these days. It's tougher.
Who's the best coach, in your opinion, in college basketball?
Right now, the best coach, man, it's a good one. Man, there's a ton of them. Rick Pitino's done a lot over those years. And if you're kind of an old school guy, he was a big 5-star guy teaching kids out on the playgrounds, the sidewalks.
Station 13.
Yeah, so he's been around it. I'm still a big fan of Tom Izzo. Just the toughness part, the defensive mindset, gets the kids to play hard. Has been to many Final Fours, won national championship. Like, it's hard to not go with the older guys like that. I do think May at Michigan is going to be one of our best coaches. You can tell he gets it. He understands, because now it's different right now, because you got to understand the whole NIL and how it works to get players and keep players happy and get them to mesh, because the hardest thing now is your team is new every year. When you're a college coach, you had a young team and then you waited for them to become veterans. But nowadays, you may have 9 new guys every year. So you're going to see who your best coaches are when it comes to who can withstand that year after year of having that success, because you have new players every year and it's starting over. And, I think, so if you're looking at the Patinos and Izzo, it's longevity and what they've done over all their years, all that type of stuff. But the new age, I think May is a very good coach. Coach Beard has done wonders at many different places he's been at. When I was coaching at Coastal Carolina, a lot of people don't know, Beard there was a semi-pro team in Myrtle Beach, and he was the coach. Most of them were some of our former Coastal players, but he was like living out of his car. And now he's one of the top college basketball coaches, and it's just kind of funny. Like, but he worked and had his connections and worked his way up, and, has done a very good job. McDermott at Creighton has been very good. I mean, to stay at Creighton, do what he does at Creighton year in and year out, recruits his type of kids and his system type kids, and gets good players and develops them. So, those are, to name a few. I mean, I think McCronin has done a great job, for a Midwest guy to go out to UCLA and maintain some success. That's not easy to do. It's a different lifestyle out there. And he gets kids to play hard, and, what he was doing at Cincinnati and at Louisville, and then now to do it at UCLA has been good. So I think, it's interesting to see some of these new guys. We'll have to see how it is with the NIL, and see how they can keep developing. I know Ohio State played OU yesterday, and it seems like Ohio State, has Diebler's gotten some new talent in there. Sounds like they're head and shoulders better than they were a year ago. But it's a long season, so you never know. And everybody's good, and the whole Big Ten's good. So and I'm really forgetting, and I shouldn't, because I think he's is one of the best, is Matt Painter, and what he's done at Purdue to maintain where Purdue is. And Painter done it with big guys, and he's got great guards. And I know Antoine West is gonna get in the mix. He's been having a great preseason for him, so it's fun to watch. There's so many good coaches, but like I said, it's different now. So when you have new guys every year, the ones that can maintain and stay up there, those coaches are doing a good job, because it's almost like being a GM now more than a coach, and you got to really try to keep the relationships where they need to be, and all that, and make the right adjustments and get the right kids in to mesh to be a good team.
Yes, well said, Coach. Coach, I appreciate so much you giving us your time this evening, and I want to reiterate how valued you are in District 7 and in Northern Ohio by and large for achieving this award. You're going to be great at this position, and I'm looking forward to making the drive down to Columbus to watch the North-South game, and it's going to mean a lot more, I know, to us here in District 7, because we have a District 7 coach who's going to be running the show for the North team. So congratulations on this award. It's surreal. I would imagine it almost has to be surreal. You're in just such a small company of people who have earned this award. So congratulations, Coach. And I'm looking forward to watching your team play again this year, and Godspeed. And I hope you have the best year of your career.
I appreciate that, and we're looking forward to it again. I'm honored to represent the District 7, and to be able to coach in the North-South game. It's a true honor, and I thank everyone that was involved in the selection process.
Okay, Coach, stay in touch.
All right. Thank you.
There's still time to take advantage of our back to school sale, where students of the game of basketball can get a full year membership to our Basketball Nexus website for only $30. That is a $20 savings, and plus, coaches who take advantage of this deal will only pay $40 for consecutive memberships going forward. Check our website out at www.myrustbeltbasketball.com, and if you're a true student of the game, you're going to like what you see.